What up, guys? Today I wanted to get around to doing a beginner guide now that we are into the new year. Now, I'm going to separate this guide by different sections. So, for example, when I go into the box section, I'll talk about like everything that has to do with there. I'll leave some timestamps in the description and try to make it as detailed as possible. So if you're looking for like one specific aspect, maybe you can find it in the timestamps. But actually, before I get into all of this, let me switch tabs. I want to go over references and other websites you can use real fast if you ever need help. So first is this website here, Pridwin. This is pretty nice to check like what are the quote-unquote meta units. So like you can click the tier list and be like, oh, these units are what I want to be focusing on, upgrading and leveling if I want to do good at pushing the story, campaign, or bossing, or PvP. I'm not the biggest PvP guy, so I would say if you ever have questions on PvP, probably refer to websites like these to get opinions on that. And also, another really nice things about this website is it tells you kind of what to focus on for upgradings, whether it's like the skills, so you don't spend too much of the skill manuals on kind of useless skills, and like what kind of rolls you should be getting on your gear. But as a beginner, I think worrying about these like gears isn't the most important. I'll go over that in a second. But other than a website like this, we have this one right here. This is also kind of on the same page as the last one where you can check the tier list. It'll give you like what meta units are and where they excel in, like, oh, story, bossing, yada, yada, yada. There's also other references here that you can check. Like, you can come over here and be like, oh, what are the interception things? Or one of the best ones that I don't see on the other websites is advice. If you really want to be optimal about, like, some of the advice, you can come on here and just, like, Control F, be like, okay, well, let's look up a question for, I don't know, Neon, I guess. And it's like, okay, well, let me find some of these. Oh, everybody talks about Neon here. All right here. You can be like, okay, well, Neon asked this question. Which one is going to give me the most points? It doesn't really matter too much nowadays since the red options don't really grief you too much on, like, bond points. And then once you ask one question, the next time it shows up, it'll highlight the green one, but something extra, I suppose. And then lastly, this is kind of a addition, not really most important, but this is the wiki. There's a lot of things you can check here, like summaries about the story, about the events. I like using this mainly for the calendar. If you go over to the events tab, you can kind of see the dates of when every event releases and when they ended, just to kind of give you a nice gauge on what's coming next. Obviously, there's obvious dates for like anniversaries are on the same days. So like the 0.5 for Siren, 24th of April. The third anniversary was the 30th of October, around the start of November. You can check 2024 and it's like the same time. This is the anniversary, 31st October, and the Crown 0.5 anniversary was the 25th of April. Pretty self-explanatory, but a pretty nice and useful tool to at least check out every once in a while. At the very least, so that you can kind of gauge your spending of gems. Now, first thing in this menu, there are very few things to go over here. Nothing too important, kind of self-explanatory. I'll give you a tutorial when you start the game, but you have your messages tabs. Ignore all of the people I have on red. The group chats, this is where you go with the side missions that give you some rewards in the campaign. You'll get them while clearing stages in the campaign. So this tab is kind of like the news tabs. You can also check it on here. For the most part, it's just every event drops, you get like a daily login. And these are one of the things that I guess you can take advantage of as a new player. Just doing these quests will get you, I'm pretty sure this is a lot of copies of Alice. You can basically get her gear and her skills basically ranked up all the way. I don't think this gives you like overload gear, but I mean, they'll give you like all of her gear at least. And then you can get the bond up pretty free. This is kind of just something they have here for new players. And hey, look, you get some free ordinary recruits. Same thing with this one. Nothing too crazy. I mean, you get Privity for free, but I mean, Privity is just like a nice unit. She is getting her treasure recently though, so I mean, this is not the worst thing to just get for free. Next tab, this arcade tab is just showing you the mini games that were made for different past events. So this was like the first summer one. I can't click that. There you go. Just kind of fun. You get, I believe it is, let me quickly double check. I believe the main thing you get is stuff for your profile, like little stickers and all that stuff. Come on, come on, come on. Alright, let's see. Oh, wait, no, you do get gems. Okay, well, I mean, you can clear this out and get some gems here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very lazy. As you can see, I don't have any of these done. Huh. Okay, well, granted, I already did this back in the day. This was one of the winter mini games. It was pretty fun. It was like Crossy Roads. Anyways, you can do that for some extra resources. This tab right here, the mission tab, is mainly for the paid. It's kind of like a battle pass. You do dailies for 15 days and you get like a free skin. Well, free, it costs $20, but you know what I mean. You get the skin, you get some of these regular recruits, you get some of these molds. Usually they're separated by mission pass, which is something they do every month, and event passes. So when there is a relatively big event or collab, they do a skin for that. Usually in there, those are more worth to get because they offer advanced recruits in there, which is somewhat of the premium currency to summon with. This is kind of like the step down to the premium currency where you can get just free summons for this. So monthly passes usually only have these, and then event passes have the advanced recruits, which are a bit more valuable. Now, daily missions right here. I guess this is also weekly missions, main missions for the campaign, and then some challenges. These daily missions are what you're going to be doing every day to get these free rewards every day. I believe the last little main chest that it gives you right here is 300 dreads every day. And then weekly is kind of just the same thing, where every week you do some stuff. It's not too hard to do once you get into the swing of things, so it's just free stuff. You do this daily missions, you get the last chest, and that's what gives you the next little level to a lot of these mission passes and event passes. Now, the Friends tab is basically self-explanatory, just a friend system in this game. You can send friend requests, you can send these little heart social points, and you can receive them also for your friends. Just try to fill this one out, and maybe every once in a while do some spring cleaning. If someone doesn't log on, maybe unfriend them and friend someone else, just so that you can get these free points. They build up into getting a summon in the recruit tab. I'll show you that in a second later, but other than that, there's nothing really to do with your friends list. It's not like you can borrow one of their units. It's just something kind of extra. Now, next up is the Union tab. This is kind of the guild club mechanic for this game. What I would recommend as a new player is just join whichever one that looks the highest, I suppose, in the search option, and just participate whenever these Union raids come out. So along with the regular like game modes for the events and the story and the campaign, there's Union raids, solo raids, and co-op raids. I'll go over all of those, but for one, the Union raid right here, so it's split into 3 days. The first day, it's everybody in your union trying to clear as much levels as you can. The second day is also the same. They'll give like, I think it's 6 bosses, I believe, in rotation. And essentially, you all work together to do as much damage as you can to the boss and clear them because they have specific health. And you keep going until you clear enough stages, and then once you clear enough stages, that will unlock day 3, which is the hard mode, and there is where the, I guess, competition, you can say, to get the high score starts. And then once hard mode comes out, you just do as much damage as you can, and depending on how much damage your guild does as a whole, it will put you on a specific ranking and give you rewards based off of that. I guess while we're on the page of Union Arenas, the next thing that is quite similar to that is the co-op raid. So co-op raids are basically punishment for playing this game. Whenever you load up co-op raid, it's basically, imagine you are stuck in a medieval torture device. That's basically, I would say, a good comparison to doing co-op raids, but in all seriousness, essentially how this works is there's 2 game types. So there's the normal type, and how this works is you load into the match, you play on auto burst, you play on full auto attack, you just go in. Once you hit a certain threshold of damage, the boss will just auto wipe you. Nothing too crazy about that. The challenge mode, though, is where you actually load in, you do just normal thing, there's no auto, and this is where you want to go for your high scores. Starting off, I would just recommend to just participate in these. Just getting the participation rewards is enough. If you really are like antsy about, I don't know, not pulling your own weight, you can realistically level your account in a way where your burst 1 and burst 2s are the most powerful, so then you can leave the damage to other people and maybe not be feeling like you're griefing everybody. But I'd say it doesn't really matter too much. I mean, you're just a new player. You'll get stronger just throughout progressing in the game, so don't worry about it too much. I would say just participate, get the free rewards, and then be done. Trying to get top 10% though, which is what I do recommend if you want to get somewhat of value out of the rewards from this co-op raid, is a pain in the ass, so do it at your own discretion. As you can tell, I am very tired of doing these damn co-op raid challenge runs, but whatever. Next up is the solo raids. So solo raids are essentially when new bosses drop. So for example, a campaign especially, they do this, or different events, big events that drop, there's a new boss. They usually then run a solo raid. Essentially how it works is at the start of the solo raid, there will be 7 stages of the same boss in various difficulties. Your main goal as a new player is to just clear as much as you can. You're not going to be full clearing all 7 stages when you start the game, that just is what it is, but as you work your way up clearing a lot of these stages, once you clear stage 7, you'll be able to get a decent amount of rewards from the dolls and stuff, and the further you get, the better the rewards, obviously. If you get stuck on a specific stage and maybe you don't have enough power to beat the next stage of the boss, let's say you're stuck on stage 4 and you can't beat the 5th one, just clearing the 4th stage and then using the rest of your run to just fast clear those will give you a decent amount of rewards, just so that you can then work on maybe trying to get to stage 7 the next time a new solo raid comes out. But once you clear all 7 stages of the solo raid, then you're gonna hit the challenge, and that's where you compete with other players to get the most damage out of 5 different teams. And essentially also the same thing, just try to get to top 10% just like co-op raids. You get a decent chunk of rewards to spend in the shop. But that is it for the main types of, I guess, extra game modes in this game. Now, next thing I want to go into is the shop. There are 2 distinctive shop types. So this main shop type right here, the cash shop, this is where you spend like real life money and you get your premium currency. There's some bundles in here that are, I mean, not the worst value. This is 20 bucks, you get 15 advanced recruits, you get 1500 gemmies. This is enough for 3 multis, so I mean, not the worst, but I wouldn't recommend spending money on gacha games. I always do say that. This isn't too bad. Every day you get this free gem, every week you get this one, every month you get this one, just kind of free gems. Make sure you check on it every once in a while. This tab right here is for when they do reruns of costumes. Most of the times the reruns of costumes in here are for mission pass costumes or the event pass costumes. Usually those are in those battle pass-esque type of things I was showing you earlier, and those are limited in a sense that once you miss out on that pass, you're not going to be able to purchase this costume from the regular shop. However, they have introduced reruns where, depending on what event comes out, they rerun the old skins like this, so maybe if you see one that you want, you can pick it up. But this is the permanent skin shop. Basically, just all of these costumes are just here permanently. There's just nothing to really go over here. This is a kind of a gem package based off how far you are in the campaign. Nothing too crazy here. Now, this is not too bad right here. This is, I would say, if you kind of want to spend a little bit of money, probably get this, especially if you're going to log in and play daily. This can stack up to a decent amount of gems. It's just $5. And every day you're going to get 100 gems for that month. And when you purchase it the first time, that one day you'll get this 330. So this isn't the worst value, but like if you don't want to spend money on the game, I totally get it. It's just a daily gem allowance, I guess you could say. And then here's just a gem shop, not too complicated to go over. Alright, next is the regular shop. Now, this is where you're going to spend the in-game currency to get a lot of stuff. I'm going to go over this briefly. I don't remember if I mentioned this, but I already have a decent amount of guides on, like, the shop or Interception, so I will put that in the end screen. And if I already did a guide on said topic, I won't spend too much time on it. I'll just link you guys to the other video, but I will go over it briefly. However, I do plan on remaking some of them. For example, the Interception is pretty old, it's like a year old, and I was using pretty scuffed teams, and I am, I would say, quite stronger than I was back then, and using less scuffed teams nowadays than I was back then, so I definitely have to remake that. But real quick, for the cash shop, so this first tab I would recommend only really purchasing the free item, and if you see the core case, I would say buy those. Never buy any of these that cost gems. Gems is your premium currency, and you definitely do not want to waste them on something like this. It's just not worth it. You can just wait till they are being sold with credits, and I would recommend only buying these. Buying the gears is a waste. It costs way too much for the value. You'll get that regularly anyways, so just skip on that. This next tab is what you get from doing the union raids I was talking about. These are mainly for your cubes, which I will go over that in a second. These are from the Lost Sector tab, and these are the batteries used to upgrade the cubes. I'll show you guys that a bit later. Now, this body label shop is for your dupes when you have specific, for example, rares, SRs, and your SSRs maxed. Whenever you pull them again, you will get these little body labels, and you can spend them in this shop. If you are not past the level 160 barrier, and you have not unlocked the synchro device, you should only be buying these quality molds, basically. This is basically the new mold system. I won't go over the old one, because, I mean, if you just started, it doesn't really matter. But just buy these until you get past that 160 wall, and you should be good. Next shop, this is the PvP shop. This currency you get from doing PvPs, I'll show you guys that in a second later. What I would recommend from getting these is mainly just these manuals. These are what you use to unlock the skills. This is for your profile, your little stickers. I have this spot because I still don't have all of them unlocked, and I kind of want to unlock all of them, so that's why I'm buying this. This is so you can reroll some of your gears. If you have extra money, this isn't bad to grab when you're trying to get a specific character gear. So for example, a gear that you want on a specific Tetra and attacker unit. You can try to reroll so that you can get that specific one. And yet again, more overpriced gear. I do not recommend buying these. These are just way overpriced, not worth it. Next is the mileage shop. This is where you have your hard pity here, and you're a bit, I'd say, soft pity. It's usually referred to as the gold tickets and the silver tickets. So the gold tickets are when you use your gems in your advanced recruits. Every time you do a single, you get one of these tickets. So every multi, you get 10. And how this game works is after you do 20 multis, you get enough of these gold tickets to get the new unit. And the gold tickets carry on to different banners. So let's say, for example, the current banner is this Velvet. I do 20 multis, I get 200 tickets, but I don't want to buy her. What I can do is then wait till the next banner comes out. Maybe I don't want to summon on that, but I want the unit. I can then use that pity to buy the unit without summoning at all. It's not a limited pity thing. You can just save this forever if you wanted to. I would recommend using this for like limited or pilgrims, which are the better units in the game. So that is probably your best bet to save some of these. But this next silver pity is for the ordinary recruits, and these are mostly just to get some dupes. I would recommend using these to fill out your treasures, which is a system that I will go over also in a second here. But make sure you fill out some of your treasure units with that pity. Alright, next, this is your co-op raid shop. Now, the new co-op raids basically have it so that you get infinite of these broken cords. I don't think I'll ever run out of these anymore, even if I miss like a lot of co-op raids, but buying all of these materials right here is definitely the move. These are just what you need to use to progress the game. Your core dust, your battle data, your credits. Pretty self-explanatory. Now, this is the new-ish currency, and this is what you get scaling based off what place you get in the co-op raid. So these are the only 3 ones that you can buy. Sometimes when they do events, they do like double of these, but what I would recommend if you're a new player and just farming a lot of these bones is if you are having trouble getting a specific, like, let's say attacker pilgrim, okay, then I would recommend trying to get some of these. You basically get 10 of these, and you can guarantee whichever gear you want. Let's say I need a missileless attacker, I'll be able to just get that from free if I get this. The only problem with buying it from this shop is, mathematically speaking, it is way more expensive and not worth than buying a lot of these stuff. I mean, this one gives you a lot of credits and things to use to upgrade your gear. This one gives you a lot of stuff to upgrade your dolls, which is also very valuable. But I mean, this one literally gives you a guaranteed gear. So if you're having a lot of problem finding that specific gear, then this is a very good pickup for that case. And the next is just your exchanges. If you have a lot of battle data, you can change that to core dust, you can change battle data into credits. Don't worry about this from the get-go. Actually, before I go into the box tab, let me actually go into this. So this is the Outpost defense. This is essentially building up your, I guess, AFK currency. And you get this upgraded just by regularly clearing campaign stages, building stuff in the outpost. This gives you your core dust credits, just basic materials and XP you use to progress the game. This wipeout, you get 1 free a day. I wouldn't recommend doing it anymore. I mean, the resources are cool, but I mean, using your premium currency, it's probably not that worth. Alright, now to the box tab. This is going to be a lot of yappage right here. So, in the box tab, you have all of your units sorted here. You can sort them by burst 1, burst 2, burst 3. You can sort them by, like, favorite at a time. I like using this tab to kind of combine units that I'm working on upgrading currently, so that just in case I need to see what units I'm working on, I can separate them from everything and try to find them a bit easier. This next tab just shows you everybody who has this like red thing. It's kind of just like a ping that shows you something is new. I swear this mechanic is like bugged, so I just kind of don't pay attention. You can sort this by power, typing, their weapon, their manufacturer, if they have a favorite item. Pretty self-explanatory. Now, clicking into your units, you'll see a lot of different stuff here. First things first, when you're just going through the game, you'll be able to limit break. If you get an extra copy of them, you'll be able to get them this limit break. It upgrades their stats. Once you get somebody with 3 dupes, you'll be able to push them past level 160, and that's what you should be working on at the beginning. Getting past that 160 wall will unlock the synchro device that I will show in a second later, but trying to just get past that with someone with 3 dupes is your main move. Now, early on, I would say not focus on your gear too much to upgrade, because you're going to be swapping out a lot of gear. Actually, I can't really show this unless I get someone that doesn't have any gear. Also, I don't really have any of the old gear. Dang it. But anyways, there's a lot of different tiers of gear. I would recommend not really upgrading that too much. I would say upgrade mainly the skills for, let's say, I don't know, you high roll and roll like Siren on a multi or Crown. Trying to upgrade their skills as much as you can, because you're going to get a lot of value with them moving forward the rest of the time you're playing the game, is definitely what you should be focusing on first, and not gear. If you ever need to cheese any power to try to give you a bit of an edge pushing the campaign, I would recommend maybe trying to get some of that level from your doll, which, I mean, you're going to get that from participating in solo raids, so that might take a bit of time, but I think cheesing your power from the dolls is definitely the best way to do that. Now, upgrading the gear, let me actually find somebody that I can upgrade the gear on so I can show this. Actually, I don't think her gear is full max. Nope, it is. Whose gear is not leveled? Here we go. To upgrade the gear, you can use other gear, or this is kind of these modules that you can get from that shop for the co-op raid. You'll get the blue variants, you get the purple ones, and then the legendary from the shops, or just regularly playing. This is how you upgrade the gear. I wouldn't really recommend upgrading gear too much until you get some of these like type gears. Well, I mean, it is going to take a while for you to finally get some of those type gears, so I mean, bear that in mind. Your skills, like I said before, I would recommend checking the website for, I believe they're referred to as like budget sets, something like that. Essentially, it's if you don't want to spend too much of your battle data book stingies on units, they give you a suggestion to maybe not go too crazy on one skill so that you can then put it on someone else. So like this. I'm pretty sure it was recommended 7/7/10, so I just left it at that. These are the little books that you use to upgrade the skills. You get these mainly from the simulation room, which is another thing I will show you in a second. And then this tab is for your cubes, which you get from the Lost Sector, which I will show you that also later. Now, the other thing, big thing about this tab is, here we go, let's click Helm, is that this other doll mechanic. So you don't really have to worry about this at the beginning, but I want to go over this now because, for example, working on Helm from the beginning to try to get her doll and favorite item all the way up is definitely good because Helm treasure is very broken. So essentially how the favorite item treasure mechanic works is when you get someone's bond at level 30 and you get their doll maxed out, it'll unlock this favorite item. Now, to get someone's bond to level 30, you need to pull them and then pull 2 extra copies so that they have 2 dupes. That will make it so that you can get their bond level to level 30, and that'll unlock the favorite item. You don't need to get overload gear on them. You don't need to get their skills up to a specific number. All you need to do is get their bond at level 30, which requires 2 extra dupes, and then get their doll maxed out, which does take a lot of resources, to be fair. But once you get that doll max, you'll be able to start the favorite item quest. It gives you kind of like a little story scene. It'll give you like whatever, dating sim thingy, yada yada yada. The main thing though now is you will use the materials that are curated to their favorite item. In this case, it is, where is it? This item right here was Helms. You need to get a lot of these, so which is why I would say working on this a little bit from the start is probably the move. You can't really do this immediately. It's going to take a long time to acquire all of the necessary items that you need to upgrade the favorite item all the way up to get their skills up. Essentially, this is the way the game will take older units and kind of make their kit a bit more modern and a bit more usable. If any of you guys played Dokkan, this is kind of like their Extreme Z Awakening mechanic, the EZA mechanic. Essentially the same thing, except this is kind of more of a pain in the ass, especially if you're starting from 0. Anyways, another thing you can do with dolls is you can reroll some of these rare dolls to get the SR dolls. And I mean, I think one of the websites technically say it's not optimal to roll your rare dolls into SRs and then upgrade them from there. I think there's like a tech to like upgrade the rare and then level them up to SRs or something. I don't really worry about too much. I feel like just doing it normally is fine for me and it works fine for me, so I just do that there. But if you really want to be optimal, I mean, you can check that out. And I mean, maybe it's a bit different, I don't know. Oh, I didn't actually mention the settings. Real fast, let me actually mention some settings that are pretty important starting out. So a lot of these are kind of self-explanatory, like the game audio, if you want, I don't know, your graphics, whatever. One thing though, you definitely want to turn on in the settings for the battle is this one right here. This minimum firing rounds, depending on what device you're working, this will make it so that even if you're maybe losing frames or something, you're not going to lose damage. So how a lot of machine guns work in this game is depending on your frame rate, it actually griefs your damage if you're using machine gun and you have low frames. Like you'll have some phantom bullets that won't count as damage, and that will really screw over your DPS. So turning this on kind of fixes that. Make sure you have this on. And let's see. Oh, another extra thing what I like having on is this screen shaking and this attention when target appears. So when you're doing campaigns and the boss spawns, if you noticed, it kind of zooms in on that boss while the fight's going on. So let's say you're like trying to aim at something and then the boss spawns, it'll just zoom in regardless anyways. It doesn't care what you're doing. And it is low-key very annoying, especially if you're trying to kill someone off who's a bit low HP, who's like doing a lot of damage. It will really grief. So I would recommend turning this the fuck off so it doesn't grief you. I mean, also screen shaking. I don't like screen shaking like any game. Screen shaking, motion blur. I don't know why people program that into. It just makes me nauseous and looks terrible. Alright, next up is the Outpost. A lot of stuff into the Outpost as well. So main thing is this bulletin board. This is where you do your daily stuff. There's just different missions. You can refresh if you want. Well, I mean, I would just say do the regular dispatch. You just get some random assortment of rewards, not too crazy. You do have to dispatch specific characters depending on like their typing or the manufacturer to do some of these, but just progressing through the game, you'll have enough characters to just go through all of this. Not too hard, but anyway, starting off, you won't have a lot of these buildings built. Essentially, your main goal starting off is building a lot of these buildings from this Tactics Academy. A lot of this is just regular progression. I am a bit rusty on some of these because, I mean, they literally have not updated anything new in here for so long. So, like, ever since I finished this at the beginning of the game, I have never had any use to come back here. So, just doing some of these quests, they're pretty self-explanatory, and they unlock, like, different stuff for your slots. They unlock, like, different buildings you can build. They can unlock some other stuff. Just basically do these, and eventually you get all of them unlocked, and it's kind of just free and some extra stuff to do. But once you unlock all of those, you'll get some extra stuff. You'll get all of these buildings. And next thing to go over, so like I said before, the 160 barrier in this game is what we call it. Essentially what you need is you need 5 units that have 3 dupes right here so that you can push their levels over 160. And once you push all of them over 160, you'll unlock the synchro device, so that now what you do is you spend core dust to now level up everybody to the next level, up to whatever. Now, pushing the synchro device past, 160, 200, etc., the main resource you're going to be using is core dust. So moving forward as you're progressing the game, try to get as much core dust as you can until you start approaching the 400 level. Once you start approaching the 400 level, this is where it starts eating a lot of your credits. So once you get closer, I would say start trying to equally get core dust and credit. Maybe focusing on credits a little bit more, especially if you're upgrading a lot of people's gears. That will definitely cost a lot of money in the long run. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Another thing with the synchro device is, as you can see, I have a lot of these slots upgraded. Just regularly playing the game, you'll be able to get free slots like this. If you really want to, you can buy this slots with gems. Sometimes when there are anniversaries or maybe they give out free rewards, they'll give these little synchro expansions, and you can use that to upgrade the slots and you don't have to spend any gems. Basically, free slots for the synchro device. Basically, just put all of your units here, and they'll match the levels of all of the people that you have. MLB is what we call it when you have 1 copy and you have 3 dupes of them and put them in the synchro device. Pretty self-explanatory. Alright, next up is the command center. Now this is where a lot of your advice stuff and just kind of, I guess, housekeeping, you can say, stuff goes into. So like you can look over past events, you can look at the other campaigns that you did in the past. It'll show you basically all of them. You can even bookmark like specific chapters if you really want. Here's some of the things in the Outpost that are kind of like mini events. As you saw, there's like a lot of the bubbles around mine because I haven't done it in a while because I'm lazy. But here are the past events. You can check them out. Some of the free events, they got free skins, some April Fool's events in there. Going through the campaign, you'll find a lot of the little relics right there that you just pick up around the map. You get them and they give you gems once you get like a specific amount of them. So just grab a lot of them. This is where you claim all the gems from. This is a somewhat new addition to the game. Essentially, they have the chronological storyline right here, depending on, I mean, if you want to see the story based on the events in a chronological order. Some of these are kind of finicky because I feel like events that should be on here aren't on here. So like, I don't know, it's a bit wonky because I feel like, what did I see? This will probably not make sense to you, but yeah, right here, the Killer Wife event is here, but like, I don't see Kay's event on here for some reason, which, I mean, doesn't really make too much sense, but whatever, it doesn't matter for a beginner guide. Next up is the advice. So when you get to a unit, you'll have them right here to kind of advise them. It's kind of like the dating sim thingy I showed you in the website, so you can really pick and choose one of the 2 options and it'll give you a bond score based on them. You can give them presents to raise the bond score. I mean, you're just gonna get a lot of these once you just start playing. Like, look at this, I have 200 of these. I would recommend just kind of chilling with these. It doesn't really matter too much. It gives you extra stats if you get them leveled. So, I mean, maybe leveling some of these would be the move. You can't advise collab units, so these only get leveled up if you give them gifts. So just keep that in mind. But I mean, it's not that complicated, pretty easy. And then right here is the kind of free bond story that they give out. Every once in a while when an event comes out, you'll be able to check someone's bond story for free right here, even if you don't have them unlocked. And you'll just get one free regular recruit, not too shabby right there. Next up in the outpost is this recycling room. Now the recycling room is where you use one of the currencies that you get just regularly through playing the game. You can just upgrade the stats based off the manufacturers, based off of their typing, whether attacker, defender, or supporter. And then you can use some of these blue thingies right here once you get specific levels on your girls. Eventually you're going to be locked like I am, where I have to get everybody to level 440 so that then I can start upgrading this again. So I would say later when I show you guys event shops or other ways to acquire this currency, I would say not worry about this too much because later you're going to get overrun. Granted, now I did show you guys in that shop where you can convert this into something else, but that's besides the point. Okay, next up is this kind of infrastructure core thingy. This is mainly unlocked from doing like different achievements and stuff. You'll just get this over time. It's not that big of a deal. I think I'm at max because it's saying 427.60 out of 0. I'm not really sure what this is working with, but yeah, it's just something extra. You get some molds in there, not too bad. A lot of these, by the way, I don't remember too much on how the progression is, so maybe a lot of these are not unlocked for you. I know this one isn't unlocked. So this little elevator right here is part of the rehabilitation mechanic. I'm not really sure when you unlock this. Actually, I guess I can check right here, right? It'll tell me when you unlock it. No, I'm pretty sure when you get to a specific campaign chapter, it'll unlock this. And essentially how it works is they'll have 3 units in here that you do specific weekly missions, and it's kind of like a thing where you get them out of jail, or you're like a counselor, I suppose. And then once you finish it, you'll get the units. All of them are like kind of mid, so you don't really have to focus on one of them to be like optimal. Just pick whichever one looks your favorite and just work on that. It's going to take a really long time to get all of these done, so I mean, just starting it and then doing them is just fine. I wouldn't say go out of your way and like spend gems to try to get specific missions done, because I mean, it's going to take a long time regardless. So I mean, just do it in the back, I suppose. However, once you get to a specific part of the campaign, you'll get a new person unlocked. It is going to be right here. You'll get to Nilister unlocked, and the grief part about this, though, is I did not realize there was a specific way to actually pull this menu up. So when you click the elevator, please remember this, and it's doing the little, like, going down, you can, like you saw right there, click right and left. Make sure you click right, and where it says this upper world, and that's where you can click into Nilister. I spent, like, I don't even know how many months just, like, not having her leveled up and doing the rehabilitation thingamajigger is just so stupid. And also, if you ever want to see kind of the rehabilitation story, and maybe you missed it or you don't have time, it'll be the bond story for those specific characters if you want to rewatch them. Next up, before I go into the Ark Tab, let me go over some of the event tabs. So there are different types of events. Normal events, I'd say, like anniversary events, collab events, the seasonal events like summer and winter. I would say they're kind of different. So normal events like this one usually end up being the 1 week where it's got the regular shop here. All of the events also have this challenge where it's just a boss. They just pick it out of a pool. You clear a couple of stages. It gives you some of these molds. Once you clear this stage, then you can quick ballot it so you don't have to fight it entirely all the time. And for example, like this event, so this is one of the shorter events that only lasts 2 weeks. There's only one normal mode here, and then they have a hard mode. When there are longer events for like anniversary or collabs, usually they have a part 1, a part 2, and then the hard mode. So it's 3 weeks they release those stories. And all of the events, however, have these boost characters, and what this is if you use these characters in the fights for the story in the event, it'll give you boosted rewards of this thing. They always pick some random item to use as kind of shop currency. What is this even called this time? Here we go, Pro Mate Certificate. So just make sure, if you can help it, that whenever you do these events, you always try to get this to 100% so you can get additional rewards so you can buy more stuff in the event shop. For right now, with this kind of regular 2-week event, these shops are going to look something like this. They'll have a limited kind of banner thingy for your icon, your profile, and whatnot. I'm not sure if this is limited. I haven't failed to buy one of these once they introduced this, so I'm not sure if this is like permanently like limited. So I usually always buy this, but in terms of importance, I would say to buy these for first. They're the advanced recruits, obviously the most important. Ordinary recruits, very important as well. How you pull for units and pull for your wish list. These next ones right here are also pretty important. They are used to level up your skills. These are the books. And next, I would say get the core dust. And honestly, if you really want to be optimal, you can forego the battle data case. These little upgrade thingies right here. And only go for the core dust after that. I kind of buy these just because they kind of give me OCD, but you can realistically just buy like these two, and then the skill manuals, the core dust case, and then just spend everything else on core dust if you really want to push levels and be like optimal. It doesn't matter too much because you're going to get, a lot of resources regularly while you're progressing through strengthening your account and stuff, but there is that. Next up, the Ark Tab. Now, the Ark Tab is where you're going to be doing a lot of your stuff for your dailies. This is where you farm a lot of materials. To start off, I'll go over the arena. This is the PvP game mode in this game. There are two separate things of arena, also this champion arena, but you don't really have to worry about this beginner-wise. You can kind of like make bets based off of like other player and who's gonna win, but I haven't really went into this too much, and you don't really have to worry about this too much because you can't really participate in this unless you get a specific ranking in the special arena, so don't worry about this right now. Now, the rookie arena, this is kind of just something you do every day. You just get some free battles. I'd say just pick whatever is the easiest. Like, if you overpower somebody a lot, just do the battle so you can get the free rewards. There's not a real huge difference between like rankings. You do get these tickets for the arena shop that I showed you a bit earlier, but they don't really matter too much where you have to go crazy trying to get the top rank to get these rewards rather than, I don't know, just get like a mid rank to get these rewards. It's not the biggest difference. A bigger difference is this special arena. So in the last arena you just saw, you only pick one team. It's kind of like one team versus one team. In this, you get 3 teams you can make. I'm not the biggest PvP guy, so if you want to like get really good teams, I would say maybe look at the websites I showed a bit earlier or another source. I'm not the biggest PvP guy, so I need to work on it. A lot of these teams are kind of scuffed, but how this special arena works is you pick 3 teams for attack, you pick 3 for defense. When somebody attacks your, teams, they'll pick these 3, and essentially the one team for you will fight the opponent's one team. Your second team will fight their second team, so on, so on. Whoever wins 2 or more, obviously gets the win and their rank increases. This arena is a bit more important because the ranking actually does give you some gems. I should probably really focus on these a little bit more. Like, if you get a lot of these, this is like a free multi, so it will put you up against like kind of your equal power opponents until you like hit a certain rank. Then it's gonna kind of stagnate where everybody's kind of the same rank, so it's gonna be a bit harder. When you're just normally ranking up, you're probably going to be able to be like up here and get a lot of these free rewards for the time being, because if you're really pushing your account, like, you'll be going against maybe someone who stopped playing the game, so their power is just kind of stagnant, and then you'll be able to easily just be higher ranked than them and get some of these rewards. But I'm not paying attention too much. Let's see, what's my rank? 97? Yeah, I'm not getting like any rewards. What's my rewards right here? Yeah, 800. So like, I don't know. You can focus on this a decent amount if you want some of these gems, but I'm lazy, so you're gonna have to go to someone else for some tips, or you can just look at the tier list. Next up, I'll talk about the Lost Sector. Now, the Lost Sector is, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, kind of just tedious work and kind of really boring. You will unlock some of these Lost Sectors when you get a certain point in the campaign. For example, this one right here to get sector 25. I need to clear the last sector and complete the 35-36 boss, and then they'll unlock this, and I can just do that. I'm way far behind because it's just, like I said, a pain in the ass. Some of the puzzles are kind of wonky. These early ones aren't too bad. I would say if you really are lazy, try to push these lost sectors until you get both of the blue cubes. These Resilience Cube and the Bastion Cube are definitely the best cubes in the game, and honestly all the other ones kind of pale in comparison. So if you really want to be like a bit lazy, you can just get these unlocked and then not worry about them too much. And then when you do the solo raids and you get a lot of those little batteries to spend in the shop, only buy the batteries for those 2 blue cubes so you can get them leveled up as fast as you can. When you level up the cubes, not only will their percentages of like buffs, so like the damage of strong elements will go from 12% to 14%. And also every once in a while you do some upgrades, you'll unlock extra slots so you can put more characters in your cubes. Oh wow, I need to organize this. So yeah, trying to get all of these to level 11 so you can get all of the slots unlocked as fast as you can is definitely what you want to be doing with this Lost Sector little game mode. It is pretty tedious and some of the puzzles are kind of annoying. And, you know, as you can see, I'm pretty far behind, but that's besides the point. Next up is the Tribe Tower. Now, the Tribe Tower is separated from just normal Tribe Tower here and the Manufacturer Tower. So the regular Tribe Tower is just kind of like regular campaign where you pick a team of 5. You do random stages. Every 5 and 10 stages, you do an actual decent boss. Where, for example, this is like an actual boss rather than just like a regular campaign stage where you just fight a bunch of minions and then like a bigger boss spawns and you just kill that and you clear it. You can push this as much as you can. You will get, I guess, decent amount of rewards every 5 to 10. You get some molds, you get a decent amount of gems. I don't really push the Tribe Tower too much just because I like using these for like skin showcases and whatnot. And I don't want to get too far ahead where some of the units that are kind of shittier that get like newer costumes, then I don't get screwed like going into the Tribe Tower and they just get absolutely obliterated. But you can easily push the Tribe Tower and get like a decent amount of rewards. It's just that I have not done that, and it's kind of the same strategy where you can just try to just spam out your burst generations and just spam out your bursts and just try to clear as fast as possible. Nothing too special about the Tribe Tower. Now, these Manufacturer Towers are basically the same thing as the Tribe Tower, except that they are obviously limited to manufacture. So Tetra Tower, you will only be able to use Tetra units. The Missileless Tower, you'll only be able to use Missileless units. Pretty self-explanatory, but it's kind of the same deal where you want to just push it as much as you can. You'll get some gems, you'll get some molds, just a regular thing every 5 and 10. The only thing about these is they go through a rotation every week. So currently right now for me, it is Sunday, and on Sundays it's only Tetra, on Mondays it's only Elysion, on Tuesdays it's Missileless and Pilgrims, on Saturdays all of them, etc, etc. My recommendation for pushing these is the same as always. Just check the tier list, try to make your teams as strong as possible, make sure you have burst 1, 2, and 3, and just push them. I also don't really push these too much because I like using them for skin showcases, but that's besides the point. Next up is the Simulation Room. Now, this is where you're going to get all of your books. Just make sure you do these every day. How this is going to work is while you're progressing, you'll unlock these different difficulties in these different sectors. Once you get to the furthest difficulty, it shouldn't be too hard. Like, it's not too much power that it takes to unlock the hardest difficulty, but once you unlock the hardest difficulty, you will be able to do a quick simulation. It'll just take really, really short to just get through all this, get all your rewards. If you want any more in-depth on like the overclock, I have a guide for that if you want to check that out. But this is pretty self-explanatory. Just try to go through them and then make sure you pick the upgrades that are usually universal is what I like doing. But I mean, obviously if most of your units that you use in your teams are Pilgrim, then you can just mix and match for the more specific buffs. Next up is the Interception. So when you start out the game, you will have to go through this regular Interception and just go from D to S and then this EX. Obviously all of these are unlockables. You get 3 attempts per day once you upgrade your stuff all the way. And my main recommendation is, I mean, just try to learn the bosses and their attack patterns, and then, I mean, just try to go at it. Eventually, I mean, you'll just normally get overpowered to the point where you're just easily clear these bosses. This one, I'm pretty sure, is the one that changes every day. So today it's Gravedigger. Unfortunately, with stuff like this, where this changes every day, when there are double like reward weekends where the rewards for the interception right here and the last one that I just showed you, the simulation room, rewards get doubled. Unfortunately, like, since the bosses are random, you might get griefed in a boss that you can't clear rather than a boss that you can clear based off of like the interception. Like when I started, for example, I never really had trouble with Chatterbox, at least earlier. I always cleared Chatterbox first, but I couldn't fully clear like Modernia. So for example, when there was a double rewards weekend, I always hoped that the boss was Chatterbox so that I can just clear him, get the full rewards, rather than if it was Modernia and I wasn't able to clear her and get the full rewards for the double rewards weekend. But once you get to a certain point, you'll unlock the anomaly interception. These are a bit of more harder and annoying bosses that give you a bit of rewards. These are where you're going to get a lot of your specific gear for your manufacturers and your attackers, defenders, supporters. A really cool thing that they added recently is this equipment ownership status. You can click this and check like how you're looking in your inventory rise. I would say if you have a decent amount of stock of like all of this, then you can just completely forego going all the other bosses and just only farm Kraken for the Crack Rock, which is these custom modules that are basically your fuel for the overload gear. If you want to look in more into that, I have an overload gear guide on that. And I also do have a guide on this anomaly interception. However, it is a bit old, so I definitely have to redo that. But I would say not worry about this too much because this is a bit of a late game-ish stuff. But just make sure once you get here, just kind of take inventory of all your stuff. And if you're looking pretty good, then you can just only really farm the Crack Rock right here from Kraken, and you should be fine. Now, last but not least in this section is the Soul Raid Museum. Now, the Soul Raid Museum is a relatively new thing they added last summer, where a lot of the solo raids in the past are getting put in here. So the first, second, and third solo raids right here, Mother Whale, Blacksmith, and Ultra, were added first. I'd say once you get to a point where you can clear all the stages in the solo raids normally, then try to go on here and maybe take advantage of some of the weekly buffs maybe, or I mean maybe if you have a really strong like water team or electric. I mean, Mother Whale is really annoying. If you're pushing the campaign, I mean, this is one of the bosses you're going to struggle a lot with, so maybe hold off on doing this just so that you don't rage. But anyways, once you get to a decent amount of power or your box is relatively strengthened enough, just go into one of these bosses and try to do, at the very least, all of the missions. The missions are very juicy, give you a lot of rewards, like these maintenance kits and all this stuff. Let's see, I have a lot of these. Yeah, these right here. These challenge rewards are really good, and they give you a lot of the boxes so that you can get the favorite items. Currently, the only favorite item boxes right here pertain to the wave 1 and 2, so nothing too crazy here. Let's see, it is Laplis's treasure. I know that's Diesel's, Rima's, this is Exia's, and then this is Viper. So these units that are treasure right here aren't the craziest. There will be an update coming up which will release new bosses here, and I'm wondering if the bosses in there will have the challenge rewards be the, I guess, second wave of treasure units, because this is what, still 1 and 2? Yeah, so I wonder if this will be 3 and 4. If that's the case, then I mean that'll be really good. Try to get that farmed up so that you can get Helm's treasure as fast as possible. But other than that, I mean, just those free rewards to upgrade the dolls with the maintenance kits is definitely not too shabby. And then this is kind of just something extra. Just hop in here every once in a while and claim the gems. This is for whenever someone just gets like a new record in your server, and it just gives you like free rewards like maintenance kits and yada yada yada. Alright, next up, let's go into some campaign stuff. So how campaign is structured, as you saw in the tutorial, is you just go through this relatively big map. There are some little things you can pick up, the lost relics. Just looking around on the map and seeing the little like orange blob right here will mean that there's one nearby. You can just walk up around, try to scan, and pick up one of these. Normally they'll give you just random stuff like Cordus right here, gems, random bits of lore. Once you get a little bit of that, you can go back to the outpost, get some gems from getting all the lore stuff. But normally it's just regularly pushing the campaign. Currently, I'm in hard mode, though. This is unlocked after you do a couple of campaign chapters, I believe, but currently they released a new kind of, I guess, a game mode for the campaign, which is like kind of a story mode. All of the fights are very, very easy. In case you want to just get caught up to like the lore and the story, you can just do that and try to just get caught up in the lore and story so that you don't get spoiled, for example. However, I don't think you get any rewards from doing that. So pushing the campaign normally and then pushing the campaign in the hard mode will give you a decent amount of resources and rewards. Gameplay wise, it's kind of just normal, self-explanatory. Make sure you get your burst 1, 2, and 3. And make sure your team building is, at the very least, cohesive. If you check some of the teams, there are some synergies you can do. For example, the Made Mast, Made Anchor. They buff specific units that do distributed damage. So if you want to make your team based off of that, then you can use someone like Black Shadow. Black Shadow will get a lot of buffs from their support. Normally, the passives in this games are structured around the units doing like final attack, units doing distributed damage, and units doing sustained damage. Now, if you click into a character's like skills, some of the text will pop up as like orange or yellow. And when you click those, they'll give you kind of like a description of what final attack is, or like what distributed damage means, what sustained damage means. If you really want to go into in-depth, I would say look in there. But basically, final attack is just kind of like a last hit thing. And a lot of the attack that gets calculated into that is based off of just like the attack. So you can buff that with like gear rolls, you can buff that with like the supports, you can buff that with like cubes. Distributed damage is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's damage that is distributed between different types of enemies, and it's kind of like a dot, which is a damage over time, but not as much as sustained damage. Sustained damage is more of like a dot, but I believe the main difference is that the sustained damage is usually only against one target rather than distributed damage, which is distributed between multiple enemies, unless obviously there's only the boss left and he's going to take all of that damage instead. Now, normal team building usually depends on kind of what your box is looking like. The main teams that you would be running is your 1 burst 1, maybe 2 burst 2s and 2 burst 3s, or 1 burst 1, 1 burst 2, and 3 burst 3s. Definitely make sure you do burst 1 that has CDR. CDR is the most broken thing in this game for burst 1 so far, so try to build your team with the solo burst 1 being like Siren, Litter, Killer Y, Volume. Someone who has CDR is definitely what you want to do burst 1 wise. Burst 2 wise, if you're pushing campaign, just anyone who gives support, anyone who gives shield or heal is really good to try to just survive a couple more hits so you don't one-shot, especially if you're very, very down in power, and we call that the power deficiency. So, for example, if you're pushing the campaign and the recommended power is like, I don't know, 90,000, and you are like only 70k power, then at that time you have a 20k power deficit. It's going to be a bit harder because obviously the enemy is going to do more damage, your units might get one shot, and relatively speaking, your units aren't going to be doing as much damage. If you're using a lot of the broken units, then like even at huge power deficits, you can still clear it relatively easy. But just making sure you have specific team comps that kind of synergize together is definitely what I would recommend for pushing campaign, or just regularly team building in general. And like I said before, your best resource is maybe looking at the tier list and then going from there. But just familiarizing yourself with some of the passes for different units and maybe how they interact with each other is definitely the step in the right direction. Next up is the inventory tab. I'll go over some progression and how to manage your resources as well right here. This is what I was talking about a bit earlier, the guaranteed gear for whatever. I think what happened with this is I accidentally clicked Elysion because I didn't know what this is, but I mean, I have one of these just in case. For this, give a nice equal spread across these. I feel like I don't really run out of one specific one. Just give an equal amount of this. This one's the one I was buying in the shop. This is for specific typings. So I just keep this stocked up, and if I ever dump a lot of resources into skills, I then come here and I'm like, okay, how is my resources looking? Do I have enough to upgrade a lot of my wind units? If I have a wind unit that just released that I have to get up, then I can dump a lot of the stuff like this and then use them. This is pretty easy to use because you can click the little space in between the minus and the plus, and then you can like click and drag if you want a specific amount, so you don't have to like click and hold a million times. Next up, this is kind of the doll things that you get from clearing the soul rays. You get one of these once you clear it max. I have just an abundance of these just in case I run out as well with my dolls. I can choose one whenever I need. I feel like I have enough to give everybody that's at least useful one of these SR dolls. I should probably get onto that. The only real important stuff about the inventory is selectors like this. So if you get one of these selectors that are battle data or core dust, I recommend only going for the core dust like this. Core dust is way more valuable than this, and for me personally, I don't really know if I've seen someone that is struggling with the battle data, so only getting core dust from these is definitely the move. There's another kind of case, kind of like the one you just saw right there, that I don't have right now. I think I must have used it, but it's a selector between the core dust cases like this one, the battle data cases like this one, and then the credit cases like this one. Starting out, I would recommend only buying and selecting the core dust cases from that selector out of all three of them until you get around 400-ish level on the synchro device. Once you get to level 400 on the synchro, I would recommend then kind of doing a ratio of maybe like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 for the credits and then the core dust. So like 2 credit cases to 1 core dust case, or 3 credit cases to 1 core dust case, depending on how your resources are looking. Once you get to that like 400 wall for the synchro, that's when you start running out of a lot of your credits. So just keep that in mind if you hit around that threshold of synchro device. A lot of these stuff is kind of like anniversary stuff that I have locked because they look pretty in my box. So this right here is what you use to get the items for the favorite item, to upgrade the favorite item. I went over that a little bit earlier. This is where you actually unlock all of the items. The main way you get this is from, the Soul Raid Museum, like I showed before, has this, but specifically for Season 1 and Season 2. Other than that, you get this from doing the daily missions in the Outpost, and I'm pretty sure you also get these from doing solo raids, but unfortunately this is a gamble. You just use it and it just kind of gambles between one of these. The reason I have this saved up is because I already have a lot of important treasures unlocked, so I'm saving these because once the new wave of treasures comes out, they will be put into this pool, so maybe I have a chance to pull the items necessary to level up their treasure. Oh, and I don't remember if I mentioned this, but when you finish someone's treasure, any extra items you get, so for example, this is for helms. Whenever I pull this again, I can convert this item into any other item for the treasures at a 5-to-1 ratio. It is pretty griefed if you're trying to get like one of the new ones, because it's going to cost so much if you want to convert one item to the next, but that just is how it is until they change it, which kind of sucks. But just trying to work on like helm, for example, starting out and just while you're progressing in the game is definitely what you should be focusing on. Unfortunately, it is a gamble, and depending on when you enter the game, the pool for this miscellaneous box is just gonna overflow, and I wonder if they eventually have a fix for that, or if this is just gonna get like exponentially bigger, and then it's just gonna be really griefed if you need to catch up on treasures. But other than that, a lot of this other stuff is just self-explanatory. You have a gamble for the gears, which are the tier 9s. This is a manufacturer, so once you get a lot of these, it'll just be a gamble. Hopefully you can just get the ones you need. This ones are for the crack rock to use for the overload gear. This is for your dolls, also another gamble. This is what the molds look nowadays. Some more anniversary stuff that I have saved up, and then molds. If you pull extra dupes, they will show up like this. Now, you don't have to do like, for example, if I had extra privities, I didn't have to do them one by one by one. I can use like 3 privity dupes to upgrade all of them on my privity. Unfortunately, though, they don't have a thing where, let's say, for example, I have a lot of different ones that are dupes. I can't upgrade like all of them at once. I have to go in there, find the unit, upgrade their core, find the other unit, upgrade their core. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but that is how it is. Oh, and also, don't be afraid to spend some of the skill books on like maybe a little shittier units if it just helps you push the campaign, because so they have this item right here, the skill uninstaller. Now, this is kind of a finicky item because they usually give this out for like anniversaries and stuff. And how this works is you get some of these and then you can uninstall the skills for different units. So for example, if you used a lot of your books on maybe like a shittier unit and you upgraded their skills all the way to level 10, when the anniversary rolls out or they give you an option to use these, you can then uninstall the skills and get all those resources back. But it is a limited time thing. So like I have 15 of these, but I cannot use them because they don't allow me to use them. I don't know why that's a thing, but I mean, that is a thing for some reason. Let's see, just the gear tabs, nothing really crazy about that. Mainly a lot of the gears that aren't like manufacturer specific or class specific is just used to level every other gear. So just don't worry about gear too much at the beginning, I'd say, until you unlock those tier 9 gear, and then that's when gears start mattering a little bit to level, and try to go for over their gears after that. Next up is the summons tab. Yay, I love gambling. So how summons work is when the new banner drops, I mean, they'll just have this regular banner. The unit that is the new release will have a boosted rate, and depending on what the unit is, whether it's a collab character or a limited character or just like a regular character like Velvet here, it'll determine on whether or not they will be put then into the general pool. So limited time characters for like seasonals, for example, the summer units, the winter units, or collab units, that, I mean, the collab units is something separate obviously, but regular units that aren't those and aren't limited will be put into the general pool after the banner goes away. So for example, if I pull on Velvet now, the last banner that was just out was Label. I have a chance to get her because now she is in the general pool. Sometimes when the banner goes away, they don't immediately go into the general pool when the new banner comes out. Usually they make a distinction in the news or the update details. So if you ever like need to double check if they're in the general pool, you can always check there. The easiest way to check if they're in the general pool is just go in here in the wish list, and if they're able to be wish list, then you can just know that they're in the general pool and you'll have a chance to pull them when you do literally anything. Like if you do molds, if you do regular summons, the friendship summons, the ordinary recruit summons, all of that stuff. Now, the main distinctions on banners is just like the regular banner like this, where you use the advanced recruits and you use gems. There's the ordinary recruit banner. This is where you use these regular recruits. And this is where you have the wishlist mechanic. You can spend gems on here. I would not recommend that because, I mean, you might as well just use the gems on the new units that come out. I already have a guide on like the wishlist mechanic, and they released a new like pity thingy. I believe it's every 100 pulls. You can select, it is Litter, Naga, Alice, and they recently added this year Tia and Helm. If you don't need like any specific burst 1 that has CDR, or maybe you need a burst 2 that's really good, or you need a burst 3 that has damage, then you can forego the Litter, Naga, or Alice, and then just only buy Helm. Helm is definitely the best choice out of those if you can work on getting her treasure. Let's say your box will get a lot of value from having a burst 1 that has CDR, then you can buy Litter. If you need a burst 2 that's pretty good, you can still get Naga. If you need an attacker, you can get Alice. If you're not really in a hurry to get those, then you can just only buy Helm from there. And that'll make it so that you don't need the extra dupes, and then you just need to wait on getting her doll up, and then getting her favorite item up. Now, I won't go over the wish list too much, because I already have something on that, but if you really want to be optimal, I mean, something like this, you can just do the same. I would recommend first going for your wife's, obviously. After prioritizing your wife on the wish list, I would recommend keeping the tier list and going off of something like this. If you want to do the miss list, I would say replace these two with Litter and Naga. I can't put them on here because I have them fully maxed, so I can't put them on the wish list. Or maybe Tove instead of Mana right here. just basically what you're kind of missing. For the pilgrims right here, I would definitely say probably copy this. Once you get some of these, I would say swap them out so that you can pull at the very least one copy of like Cindy, of like Black Shadow, of Nayuta, and maybe Grave as well, but definitely try to get at least one copy of something like that. These pilgrims are the better performing units on average than everybody else. So usually how you want to play like the free-to-play game, if you want to kind of save your resources, is you want to usually skip regular banners, kind of like what we have so far, Velvet right here, and only arena summon on like limiteds, collabs, depending on how you want to have your account. For example, I'm a collector at heart, so I just cannot pass limited or collabs. So I definitely always make sure my resources are relatively stocked up if I know we're going into like a collab, or if the summer's coming up and they're going to do the limited units, or if the winter is going to come up and they're doing the limited winters. But also, I usually always summon on a lot of the pilgrim banners, which usually the pilgrim banners are also in a kind of high value, high time frame kind of schedule. So for example, pilgrim banners are usually always for New Year's, always for anniversaries, and always for the 0.5 anniversaries. And when pilgrim banners drop, they have boosted rates for the pilgrims. So unlike right here where the SSR rate is 4% and Velvet has a 2% odd, when a pilgrim banner comes out, the SSR rate is only 1%, but the pilgrim that releases will have a boosted rate, and then all of these pilgrims will also have a boosted rate. Currently, all of them already have a little bit of a better rate than the regular units, but they'll have even more when it is a 1% banner and those pilgrims come out. If you really don't care about like collabs, then you can probably go off on spending a lot of your multis on like every banner if you want. I think this game is pretty generous for the free-to-play experience, so like it's not really too bad if you want to summon on every banner. But like if you're used to gacha games, then you know, like if you don't spend money on the game, then there definitely is some kind of like tech to make sure you save specific resources so that you can manage, you know, summoning on important banners, high value banners, so that you don't get screwed over in the long run. The hard pity in this game though is, like I said before, transferable between different banners, and you can literally save it forever if you want. So this game is pretty generous and it's not the biggest deal per se. So this banner right here is a guaranteed SSR, and how this works is you need paid gems though. So these are gems you actually have to pay for, and then you can do this summon. I wouldn't really recommend this. This is kind of like a new player thing, but like I don't think it's worth. The pool for this is not updated, so like a lot of these units are pretty ass. Like if you pull maybe Scarlet is probably the best thing you can pull from here, but like I wouldn't waste money on buying this. And maybe Alice would be like the best thing you can pull on here realistically, but like I wouldn't recommend buying this because one, you have to spend money for it, and two, the pool itself is pretty mid. So this is probably an easy skip for you. Here's the friendship summons is what I like to call it, because the little hearts from your friends list where you send the social points and you receive social points, this is where you spend it. There are no pilgrims in this banner. It is just the regular pool. However, this one is updated. So if you high roll, you can pull like a really good unit like the Maid Mast or Maid Anchor, or other pretty good units that aren't necessarily pilgrims or are limited units per se. But anyways, I think that is everything for the tabs. Lastly, I'm going to go over some other tips and any miscellaneous things that might come to my head. I already did make a tips and tricks. I'll also link that in the end. Also, I'll put a lot of stuff in the description, like links and stuff. So if you have any questions, check there. But if I missed anything, also leave a question in the comments. Maybe I can reply to that, or someone else can answer it for you. But one thing I don't see people talking about is, like, let's say, for example, if you go into Interception and you actually use the wrong team, if you would quit out of that, it uses your attempts. You can close the game or close the app if you're on mobile or whatnot, and it'll basically forego the attempt, and you'll get the attempt back. You can use the right team, and you should be fine there. Also, if you use a Logitech mouse like me, there is a chance that if you move your mouse like on the screen, it might lag your game depending on what you're doing. I swear I've had that problem for so long until someone in the comments actually let me know that it is a polling issue. So I would recommend going into like the Logitech mouse thingamajigger and fucking with the polling, because I don't know, I don't think they fixed it yet, and I'm pretty sure it's been here for like a while. I'm pretty sure I've seen that problem pop up like a while ago on Reddit or something, but they still haven't fixed that. So if you have like a mouse polling thing issue and it's like lagging on the screen when you move your mouse, I'm pretty sure it was the mouse polling or mouse acceleration, something like that. Something with the Logitech mouse was like fucking up this game. But yeah, I think that is everything for the beginner guide. I don't know how long this is gonna cut down to. I wanted to make this as in-depth as possible, but even so, I feel like I missed a couple of things. But let's hope I got everything I wanted to talk about. I feel like I did, but like I said before, if I missed anything, let me know in the comments, or if you have any other questions, also let me know in the comments. But anyways, I think that is it from me, so I'll catch you guys later.